Good evening and welcome to Sky Blue Fans TV with me, Claudio, and Jack tonight. And we'll be joined by Samuel. Here he is. Good evening, Jack.
Good evening.
Good evening. And we'll be joined by Samuel, a Norwich City supporter. And we'll be asking him how long is too long to be in the Championship. We're also looking forward to league football returning after what feels like an eternity of an international break. And of course, this week, Doug said to the fans, ask me a question. And apparently he's answered them. It's on YouTube. I'd suggest you watch it in a bit if you haven't watched it already. But if I'm honest, he doesn't really answer anything. So what would be your question, though, to Doug if you had the opportunity to talk to him? Put it in the comments. We'll read them out. We'll pretend, me and Jack will pretend to be Doug. How's that then? So we've got plenty to cover tonight. Does Luke Wolfenden start? Do we change the formation? And also, who was your player of the month for August? We were going to talk about it last week. We sort of forgot about it. We'll slip it in tonight, I think, Jack. And Matt Grimes, the new club captain, with Liam as his vice captain. Oh, and if you're really interested, England and Italy won both their matches, and Italy were doing their very best to emulate the Sky Blues with a 5-4 win. For those of you who did see it, and I did, basically Italy were 4-2 up with about 5 minutes to go. Israel made it 4-4 in those 5 minutes, and Italy scored in injury time. So there you go. It's catching on. Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Finally excited again after the week and a half of boredom that we've just had to live through. But Thursday night, Sky Blue Fans TV night, it's exactly the sort of time to get excited for the Sky Blues again, isn't it?
It is. Now, if you're wondering where Ken is, he's working, and Mars and Victoria are on their jollies. So it's me and Jack, of course, you can see, steering the ship. And speaking of ships, every penny that goes towards this channel helps keep us running, and apparently towards Vicky's cruise fund. Yes, Victoria Cruise. That sounds a bit like a grand old ocean liner. I'm not saying that she's a big ship or anything like that. She's saying it just sounds like one. Or maybe an exotic island in the Pacific. So let's get started properly, shall we? Samuel will be around at 8 o'clock. And Jack, I'm going to ask you straight away then, if you could ask Doug to, if you bump into him on Saturday outside the arena, what would be, I say 2 questions then. What would you ask him?
Well, firstly, you've just mentioned every penny that goes towards us counts. Well, we've just had $4.99 from Lee Beckett. So
fantastic.
Great timing. Thank you very much again, Lee. We really appreciate it. Questions for Doug? I don't know. I mean, most of them were half answered in the Q&A. If you go and watch it, I've just had to whiz through it now just before the show so I can get a clue of what he's on. There was a question asked about who in head of recruitment between Lampard, Dean Austin, and he said Charlie Austin, then Dean Austin and himself, who makes the final decisions. I want to know a bit more about that. It's like, I don't care who makes the final decisions. I want to know who's agreed that only 4 needed to come in and we lose Rafael at the last minute. You know, is it just Dean and his team? Does Frank get yes or no on a bit of paper? Does he get a choice of 5 and narrows it down to 1 or 2? Is Doug involved at any point? And who decides that the squad depth that we've got is acceptable and nothing more was done, no panic buys, and that's it, we're all happy, we move on? I know Doug addressed it at the Diamond Club the other week, saying that he thinks the squad's a bit thin. Well, why didn't he go and buy more players then, Doug? I'd be a bit more polite in asking him that, but why is that the only thing that seems to happen? And was there plans to get more? Did they fall through, or was it just a bit shambolic that we didn't get more than 4 in? That would be my question.
And the reasoning behind Rodriguez going, I've forgotten his name then. What was the reason behind that? Was it because
lack of depth, but we'll let him go 15 minutes before the deadline?
Yeah, that's weird. My question would have been basically, obviously we bought the stadium. Had we bought it ahead of time? Was it something he wanted to do as quick as this? And how did it come about that they managed to get hold of it? Because I don't think any of us thought he was going to buy the stadium. That's the last thing we thought of, basically. But it seems, but he didn't really answer, did he? How he's bought it? It's kind of, he won't let on, will he? What do you say exactly?
I think the answer he gave was something along the lines of, when you buy a house, you buy some of it in equity and some of it in debt. And then he just started waffling on. So he didn't say how he's done it. I think he alluded to the fact that some of it's a down payment, some of it's a loan, but we don't have a clear answer, if I'm honest. So he's very clever in how he's answered the question on a YouTube video without giving an answer, but with giving enough of an answer to satisfy the question, I think.
Yeah. Also, what surprised me was that the whole thing was done straight away. I mean, they only put the ask out about 2 days ago, didn't they? So I was amazed that it's already been done and dusted. That
Yeah, and
seemed very
he
quick.
said there was loads of questions missed off as well. So maybe he'll do a part 2 at some point. Maybe he'll do a part 2 on the show, Claudio. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to do some comments, Jack? While
Yeah, sure. So a few good evening alls as always. I won't read them all because there are some comments here that are alluding to points we're going to get to later in the show. So maybe put your comment again a bit later on when we get to that topic. But Wayne Ghost, I'd ask Doug what his favourite pizza is.
okay, what do you reckon it is? What would you go
It's got
for?
pineapple on it.
He's not sitting next to me if he's got pineapple on his pizza. He looks like a salami man myself, surely.
Is that how he looks, or is that what he eats on a pizza?
I don't know.
Hang on, you can't talk about pineapple on pizza.
Oh no, yeah, that was an accident.
Oh, right, okay. Salop CCFC question: should fans care or even be asking how a stadium is financed? I think we should care because it's about like it can involve the transfer market. Maybe we haven't done enough business because of the transfer market, and if he gave that answer to my question, I'd kind of have to be satisfied because we haven't really got an argument against it. So I think we should care, and we've got a right to ask, but he doesn't need to answer. You know, it's not a requirement. He can answer it how he wants to, and he can just say no comment.
Yeah, I mean, you want to know if it's legit, don't you? The money and everything as well. I mean, it obviously is, but if is it a third party? Is it do you? Is somebody else invested? It's just, I'm just curious as a fan base.
Yeah,
It just
absolutely.
seems odd that it happened when it happened, totally out of the blue.
Ian Small says Wolfie needs match fitness, so I expect he'll be on the bench. I think Bobby is on trial, no more errors. Well, we'll discuss that in a bit, Ian. Paul Stratton, Doug says he likes a lean squad for togetherness. He won't be saying that when we get 4 or 5 injuries or suspensions. What a load of crap. Squad far too small. Wayne Littlewood, first real test of the season this weekend. Still believe our squad is way too thin. Injuries will falter our season. Yeah. Mostly Love and Music. Hi, Claudio. You mentioned that you would be organising a retrospective CCFC Awards with Jim Brown. Is this still happening?
Yes, it is. We have discussed this. And we're trying to find a way of doing it because, in fact, somebody approached Jim and asked me about it as well. So yeah, we're going to try and put this together because it is ridiculous that there's nothing written down, and yeah, it needs to be done. It needs to be done. So we'll start a poll on here. Actually, somehow we'll work it out, and it's Player of the Season, which I think is Jack Rodoni. We know that. Young Player of the Season, Goal of the Season. If anybody can remember what all the awards are, that'd be great, actually. And we'll work some out because it needs to be done. There needs to be a record.
I tell you what, as we've got, so Sunday show we'll be doing a review of the Norwich game, obviously.
Yeah.
How about next Thursday show? We'll get polls out to people and we'll say email in.
Yeah, we can do it on Twitter or whatever. Yeah,
together.
we'll sort something out, definitely.
Yeah, I'll see what I can put together between now and then. Oh, comments, they're moving too quick. Fran Hunter, love the idea of stands being named after legends, but could sponsorship deals bring in much needed revenue, especially when we get to the Prem? Well, when that's a different story.
But clubs do name stands, then they do have a sponsor for a stand, and then they have a complete stadium sponsor, don't they? So you can have a Jimmy Hill stand, and it could be the Tesco stand as well.
What would the CBS say about that as well? They've got the sponsorship rights, haven't they? So maybe they'll say no, we don't want individual.
Well, I don't know.
Stands.
I mean, they've got CVS written all around the outside of the ground, haven't they? It's
exactly.
It's all about money, Jack. Yeah.
Wayne Ghost, he likes a franklampard pizza.
You see, that's why he asked us, didn't he?
He just wanted to get his own pun in. Wayne, that's terrible. Wayne Brereton, evening, guys. Great interview with Doug. Looking forward to Saturday. Wayne Littlewood, pineapple on pizza is lovely. Steve Curry, meat feast for Doug. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Paul Cutford, if the EFL go ahead with the new top 8 clubs competing for promotion, the lower clubs playing one leg to go forward, where do they play the game because of home advantage? One leg is not right. We'll discuss that in a bit. We've got it noted. If Doug was my pension manager or CEO of my business, I would personally be quite satisfied with how things are being run at the moment. Well, fair play.
Well, this guy, I mean, he's head of a hedge fund management, isn't he? Which is worth millions, hundreds of millions. He's got a very successful business in Stratford. He's obviously a very astute businessman. We're lucky that he is our owner, actually, from what we've had previously. Possibly our best owner since Derek Robbins way back in the 60s. So in that respect, we're doing great. And I suppose as a fan base, you can get greedy, can't you? Sometimes I feel it. I'm getting a bit greedy too soon. It's like, and I know people will say, "Oh, look where we were 7 years ago," but and really, it's true. Look where we were 7 years ago. So we've got lucky. I think we've got really lucky with this owner, and we could have a right head case in charge of us. It happened at Blackpool when they got promoted, and the Oyston family took all the money they wanted to get into the Premier League. They took it and kind of went, "It's our money." And the club went, "Well, you see what's happened to Blackpool." So it's Derby when he got fed up, didn't he? He basically got bored and pulled his money out. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Doug. And I think he's on a mission. I really feel he's on a mission.
Yeah, I don't doubt his aspirations or ambitions. It's just the fine margins that might get us there, and that fine margin might be a bit of squad depth, or it might be Luke Wolfenden. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
Essay from Nicholas James. Bye, Claudio. See you later. Good evening to you all. Happy to see the decision to make Matty our captain. He, for me, was the only choice since he arrived through the door. Regarding Doug's interview, I like that he said the seats on the East Stand will be changed. I think it should be CCFC, and I do think we need 2 or 3 more top players. So a little thin, but did take his point. You don't want an inflated squad. There you go. Emma Bauer, first time on here. I saw you all at the Stag and Hen Coventry. Excellent. Thank you for joining us, Emma. What else we got? Mark R. I live someone who's prepared to campaign hard for the Brian Kilcline stand.
Yeah, imagine
that. Nicholas James. I also think Doug has to be given credit for turning down some big offers for our best player so that we retain the quality we have. So in a way, we had a great transfer window. Wayne said he hates the proposal from the EFL with the increased number for the playoffs. If you don't finish in the relegation zone and you make the playoffs, yeah, that's it could go that way.
From 8th place, imagine that. It's ridiculous.
We'll get there. Serious question: do you think Doug will sell up wholesale if we manage to get promoted?
That's a big depends, isn't it? I think, Jack, because it depends what the offers are that could come in, but then he might be enjoying himself. I mean, he's put down a 5-year plan. I think that's obvious from this premium package deal he did with which a lot of the fans took up. But I don't think the offer comes in, he'll sell, won't it? Depends what the offer is. It's one of those.
I don't think Doug puts in the amount of time, effort, and his own money in this short time for it to be a 2-3 year turnover or a 5-year turnover. If the offer's right, he'll sell. Like he said about buying the stadium, when the offer's right, it will be done, and it has been done. So if the offer's right to sell the club, he'll sell it, but he's not looking to sell it, I don't think, and won't be looking to sell it personally. Gibbo, evening guys. Interesting interview with DK. Looks like we got to put up with these Fraser's ad sign for a while. Yeah, we did think that, didn't we? East Stand seats Fraser's to be removed though. Yep. Well, whenever that might be between seasons. So don't get your hopes up that it'll be in the short term. Most Love of Music said, don't forget the award for best Sky Blue Fans TV pundit. Vicky has my vote. Sorry, chaps. Fair enough. That follows his comment about young player, community player, best goal, best match, and perhaps a few more. We'll do some digging, but if you can help us out and drop us an email, that'd be great. Oi, evening all. Let's have a away stand called the Jimmy Hill stand just for our Sunderland friends. Well, next year. Oh no, we won't be playing them next year because we'll be in the Premier League.
And they'll be going down. But in all seriousness, though, what would you, if you had to pick names? I mean, obviously Jimmy Hill is standout. Then you'd have to. I think you couldn't just have the John Sillett stand. You'd have to have the George and John stand.
Yeah, George and John stand.
Or maybe just call it the 87 stand. They are.
The George and John stand, you could either do the south stand or the east stand, couldn't you? Because that's where the statue is. Yeah. Jimmy's would be the posh side, which makes sense. And then would you have a Mark Robbins, or would it be
too soon? It's too soon.
Okay.
You can't have a stand named after a manager who's still managing.
The Clary Borton stand, then.
I don't know. You have
the
Highfield Road stand, even though there's no Highfield Road.
Or you could just call it the West End again, couldn't you? I suppose.
Yeah.
Evening, guys. It was great listening to Doug. He seems an intelligent, switched-on bloke. The only way is up with Coventry. He looks a bit like you, Claudio. Are you related? It's just the white hair. That's all it is.
Yeah, and his wallet, I assure you, is a lot fatter than mine.
Best hat, says Rich T. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, she's got the hat to match the T-shirt.
Miles is going to hate
away. Yeah, while Miles is away, the cats will play, or the mice will play.
Ryan Matthew J says the Kevin Kyle stand. Wayne says, Claudio, just remind viewers who asked Sunday. I will have my charity page live tomorrow for Sunday's show for the marathon running.
All right.
There you
go. It was a marathon walk. It's a bit unlucky, Wayne, with his injury, but you can't not go to New York and not do it. So, yeah, fair play to you, mate. It's a hell of an effort that's going to be.
Stan Ferroggi is the record appearance maker. Tommy Hutchison stand. How about the Sky Blue stand? That's not bad. Some great suggestions here.
And Joyner, that's a great shout. The Sky Blue stand, and also
the Bobby Gould stand.
The is it anecdote? Is it called the anecdote?
Yeah.
That should be the Coventry City Supporters Club bar.
What would you call that then?
The Coventry City Supporters Club bar.
Well, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Well, I've heard that before. Listen.
Of course you have.
Because we haven't got one. There's not an official Coventry City Supporters Club in Coventry affiliated just to the club that we used to have years ago, and we should have one. They should have one. Simple as that. And it should be that bar, basically. I mean, they're only letting home fans now anyway, don't they, I believe?
Yes, they do, yeah.
Yeah, so it should be the Supporters Club bar.
Gary Mabbott's knee stand. Yeah, very good.
I like
that. Each team tends to have a 3-year cycle with contracts. I think given the lack of movement this summer, the next 2 windows maximising the sellable value. Yeah, maybe. A statue for Yakubu, maybe.
Well, no, we'll just have Yakubu. That's all you need.
It's basically a statue anyway. Just call it Singer's Bar and have it done with. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Perfect. What pizzas would they sell in there, though, Wayne? That's the question. Come up with another pun. I dare you. Or the Highfield Arms. That's not bad. Jimmy's Bar. Yeah, Sky Blue stand is a great shout. That's fantastic by Anne Joyner. Cyril Regis stand. There's going to be a Claudio Cardellino stand in a few years' time.
I doubt it.
Singer's Sausage Pizza.
Oh, steady on.
Right, that's enough for the comments now. Should we move on before our Norwich fan joins us?
Yeah, should we talk about the captaincy, actually? Because that's another thing that came out of the blue. I think it wasn't unexpected for me, Matt Grimes. I mean, for me, he's the perfect choice. He's never going to miss a game, pretty much. It does make you wonder then, doesn't it, about Bobby Thomas and Liam? I mean, Liam's obviously the vice-captain, so he expects him to be playing. So does that mean Bobby's place is in doubt? Come maybe even Saturday. I mean,
yeah.
we can do the two together here because you've got obviously the captaincy, and then you've got Luke Wolfenden, who doesn't want to be on the bench at Ipswich in the Championship. Surely he's not going to want to be on the bench at the CBS.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 2 theories on the positioning. I'll start with the captaincy. I said the other week I think Kitchen would get it. Clearly he hasn't. He's the vice captain, and I think he's a good choice for vice captain. I do probably deep down think that Grimes is the best option for the captaincy. I just didn't think it would happen. That's why I was saying the other week that I think it'll be Kitchen. But like you say, Claudia, he won't miss a game. He's not going to get injured or suspended, most likely. Touch wood. Touch wood. So Kitchen's always likely to pick up a little knock or get himself sent off or accumulate yellows or something, although he has got better recently, in his credit. But middle of the park, the fact he drops deep and gets forward, he's just the perfect position to be captain in the fact he's everywhere on the pitch pretty much. So, yeah, he's got the experience of the Championship and of captaincy in the past with Swansea. There isn't a better option, is there?
No, and if you think about it, if Luke Wolfenden does play, and you've then got Radoni, and if Haji Wright just sorts himself out for this season, that is a magnificent spine. Yeah, that's a good spine of a team. That is in any squad in this division, as far as I'm concerned. You know, if those four, put in performance every week, we're going to have a really good season without a shadow of a doubt. And I think you can't overlook somebody like Luke. You know, you're bringing him in, he's playing as far as I'm concerned. It's up to Bobby Thomas or Liam to sort their act out, And I imagine him coming in to sort out set pieces. Because as we know, in in normal playing time, we're not letting goals in at the minute, which is incredible. But from set pieces, absolutely useless, aren't we, at the minute? So maybe that's what we do need, is Luke coming in to step in and organising that defence. Well, not just the defence, the team at set pieces, because that's the issue. But Matt Grimes, for me, he should have been the captain as soon as he turned up. I mean, Ben, I know he lost Ben, he's gone to Wrexham, but Ben just wasn't around, was he, to be captain? And I used to bug me when, they picked how many captains in one game where sub comes on and swaps the armband and somebody else is the captain and somebody else is the captain. Oh, just give it to one bloke,
Yeah, I think the only time Grimes is ever getting subbed off is if we're at least 2 or 3 goals up and we've got a midweek game. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
And it's a shock. It's a shock, isn't it, when he gives a bad pass? He did a couple on against Oxford in the second half. You think, it's Matt Grimes. What's going on there? So, it's the perfect choice, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then going into, like you say, Luke has been brought in to play, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I would personally start him on Saturday. But my only query would be, has he had enough time to gel with the squad? And because of our tendencies of playing out from the back, he might need a couple of weeks to be integrated to that. Is he going to start the first game? That's my only query.
And he's not played. He hasn't played either. So that's
exactly. So he needs a bit of time to maybe get up to sharpness. He might come on for 20 minutes again if we're 2-0 up or 2-0 down, or Bobby's booked or Kitchen's booked. Perfect time, bring him on. But I think by the time the next international break rolls around, I think our starting partnership will be Luke Wolfenden and Liam Kitchen.
Yeah,
Liam's been... Sorry?
What about all three?
No, it's not going to happen. Frank will not do that unless we're seriously thin in other areas. I think that's the simple answer. He only did it last year because of personnel available with no Haji, no wingers, basically, other than Tats. And
is that when we got our good results in the winning run? We had 3 at the back or not?
Yeah, it's where we started it. And incidentally, the game that we went to a back 5 was against Norwich away.
Yeah.
And I called it on the time. But yeah, it was. I don't see that happening. I see it being a Luke and Kitchen partnership, because it's right foot, left foot, in theory, how it should be. Bobby's the one that's been dropping all the clangers the last 4 games, mostly. Kitchen's come on. He's done a lot better. Maybe the captaincy's helped him with that. So, yeah.
It's interesting. That Norwich game away from home was as good a first half as the Oxford game the other Saturday. That first half was a really good first half. We looked really at it, didn't we? And the thing is, Norwich did what Oxford did and changed things around a bit, and we didn't. We just did not do enough, did we? In that second half, we completely.
That game, we should have been 2-0 up with a Sante from a long throw from Milan, and he put it wide, and that cost us 3 points essentially.
Yeah. So we've got more comments, Jack.
Yeah, they're coming in quickly. Another one from Christy about the pub name, the Doug King's Head, or just the King's Head. That's very good. Leicester and Burnley got promoted using 23 players each. I think we've already used 22.
That's true, Glenn, but they're a good 23.
I have a major conspiracy theory that Kitchen gets the arm to stop him getting bookings for talking to the ref.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah, maybe, because obviously if you run up to the ref now, you can get booked, but if you're the captain, you're exempt from that rule. So if you're the fourth man that runs up to the ref, but you're the captain, you're allowed, and then the next person to get a booking. So that would dodge him from that, I suppose. Yeah, that's a good theory. Wasn't Grimes Swan's captain anyway? He was a few years ago, yes. Is Grimes a talker on the pitch? He must be. With his experience and his former leadership roles, he must be.
A pointer's better than a talker. I used to find that if you point to people, it just looks like you know what you're doing. You go there. You go there.
I'm excited to see how much tighter we'll be at the back with him in our defence.
Fairly on, Nicholas James.
Matt Grimes is our Martin Olsen sheer class. Morton Olsen, sorry. Hadji with fake shorts in the pronunciation video. I did see that. So are we all going to start calling him Van Eyck now? As it should be. Not Erwick. The song won't change, will it? I'd like to think the 2-week break has given him time to bed in. Only time we will see all three players is due to injuries. Yeah,
I mean, we've been lucky because I don't think we've, apart from Kai Andrews, they've all been here, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yes, that's pretty good. We haven't, so they've hopefully been working on the training pitch.
I'm so glad that Hadji didn't go and Sargent did. That's brilliant for jet lag and playing and just relaxation, recovery. I think it's fantastic. We got lucky, basically. Name the bar the West Enders. Yeah, why not? Ray Ryan, Wolfenden has, in my opinion, plays Saturday. Make sure Sargent leaves Coventry as miserable as sin. Is it naughty to name the stadium toilet blocks after former players? Probably. Probably is.
It'd be better, though, if you're QPR. You could name one Danny Shitu, couldn't you?
Hey. There's plenty we could name our toilets at. We wouldn't have enough toilets, would we, Claudio?
No.
I'm not going to read that one out, but yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, dear.
We're almost there with comments. I will just say, I'm not going to read this out, but I did see this on Twitter. So an Ipswich fan was having a go at Luke Wolfenden, said couldn't cut it, was a liability in the Championship. If he hadn't been homegrown, he'd been slated each week. And Luke Wolfenden just comes back with so he's not adverse to giving you some stick on Twitter. So don't go in.
Is that his official account, do you reckon, then? He actually did that?
I think so.
Fair play to him. I find that odd when the player's been there that long to then start giving him grief like that. That's just weird. That's one thing I like about the fact that Ben Shear's gone to Wrexham. I've not seen too many bad things about him at all. I know some people said, well, he's a bit injury prone and the usual stuff, but I think, most fans have taken it on the chin and thought, well, it's 6.5 million year left in his contract and all the rest of it. And I mean, I go back to, for those who don't know, I did this week. It's on Spotify, but it's not gone out on YouTube yet. But myself and Jim Brown interviewed Ian Butterworth for the Sky Blue History podcast, and he's been a scout and recently for Southampton and Burnley, and mentioned that they tried to get hold of O'Hare, Gyökeres, and Sheaf when he was at Southampton. So maybe the rumours were true that he was a bit unhappy that he didn't get the move to Southampton that he probably thought he was going to get at the time. So that obviously was true then. You got one of the main scouts telling you that they tried to get these players. And Gyökeres, he didn't go to Burnley because basically they got, I think Chris Wood was there at the time, wasn't he? And a couple of others. He says, and look how he's turned out. So he said they felt like they didn't need another striker. That just shows the difference, Jack, doesn't it? The fact that they probably had 4 strikers and they were looking at a 5th one, and then decided, oh, actually, we've probably got too many strikers now. That's not where we're at all, are we?
No, but that's where the money side of things comes in. So obviously, Doug said we're running at an operating loss. Maybe we won't now because of the stadium, and if it gets, with all these new things that we can host, maybe in a year's time we'll be talking about a profit, not a loss. So maybe we can get the squad deeper. We'll find out, won't we, over the course of the next year or so. I've got a couple of stats on Luke Wolfenden, actually. Nothing in depth. Nothing in depth, like I say. But I was looking back at the last 3 seasons for Ipswich, only the last 3, I will admit. I didn't really have time to look at much more. And it seems that Ipswich's win rate is significantly better with Luke in the team than without. So when they got promoted from League One 3 years ago, he played in 41 games. They won 25, drew 13, lost 3. That's a 61% win rate. Whereas without him, they won 2, drew 1, lost 1. So it's only a 50% win rate. I know it's only 4 games. It's not a big sample size, but not bad. Can't complain at that. He also scored 3 goals in their League One campaign, but all 3 of those games they drew. So that doesn't say a lot. In the Championship 2 seasons ago, they won 26, drew 10, lost 5 with him in the team. And without him, won 2, drew 2, lost 1. So only a 40% win rate when he's out of the team, but 63.5% win rate when he's in the team. And then in the Premier League last season, I don't really think we can take this stat too much to heart. He played in 15 games. They lost 11, drew 3, won 1. And the remaining 23 games, they won 3, drew 7, lost 13. They only won 4 games all season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So they had a 7% win rate with him in, 13% win rate without him. But like I say, in the Premier League,
it's hard to judge, isn't it? When they jumped up 2 divisions, so it's a bit tricky. Now we've got Samuel in the background, our Norwich City correspondent. He's sound posh. I'll bring him in, shall I?
Evening. That was a very kind introduction.
Evening, Samuel. Now, before we quiz you about Norwich City, can you tell us your background? Is it a journalist background, and how long have you followed the Canaries?
Yeah, so I write about Norwich for the local papers here, so the Eastern Daily Press and the Norwich Evening News. I've written about them for about 3.5 years now, but I've been a Norwich fan for 15, 16. So I've watched them for a long time, but in an official capacity for the last few years.
So how hard is it to write a report when you're really angry, but you're trying to keep it on level-headed?
It's genuinely it's kind of a boring answer, but it's easier than you think. Because you kind of you get into that professional mode when you don't really like. I think people ask me if like I've ever celebrated a goal and stuff, but I haven't really ever done that. I think it helps that I started the day after they got relegated from the Premier League the last time, and ever since then it's been mid-table Championship obscurity. So there's not been too much excitement to sort of to make me particularly emotional. Obviously they haven't really got anywhere close to relegation or anything like that, so that's kind of the gift of covering a team when they're mid-table and haven't been doing much for the last few years, is that I've definitely never been tempted to let emotions get the better of me.
Yeah, you is the podcast called The Pinken?
The Pinken is kind of that's our whole thing. Well, it's a big part of it.
And that's I presume that's named after the paper, isn't it?
So the paper, it's the football paper that used to go out on the Saturday evenings was obviously printed on pink paper, and that's where Pinken comes from.
Yeah, it's the same as us. We used to have the Coventry Pink as well. I don't know why it's pink. It's weird. We talked about this in the past. We used to go to the game. The game finished at whatever it was, 20 to 5 then. And then it was like a mad rush back to read about the game you just seen 5 minutes ago. Just to purely disagree with the journo.
I'm sure. I don't think the disagreeing has changed at all. I think a lot of people probably still disagree with what I write. But thankfully they don't have to rush off to the newsagents to get it now.
So do you have to do the man of the? Do you give points, man of the match, and all that, and then people start going, "What's he talking about?"
Yeah, you've hit right upon it. That's the main source of controversy every week is the player ratings. So if there was one thing that people were rushing to read about so that they could disagree with me, it probably is the player ratings, which I'm not sure in the whole time I've been doing them, I've probably done more than 100 now. I'm not sure anyone's ever completely agreed with all of them, but I'll do my best.
You don't do it for clickbait, do you?
No, well, that would be something, to be fair. If I just did everyone was like a 2 or an 8, then maybe that would work even better. But I think people would find me out pretty quickly.
Brilliant. So the question I put at the start of the show was, how long is too long to be back in the Championship? And am I right to think that this season is the first season without parachute payments? So how does that? What are your expectations?
Yeah, I think it's the second, because Norwich went straight back down. I think you only get 3. You get 3 if you've been there for more than one season, and then you get 2 if you come straight back down. So I think it's the second one without parachute payments. But strangely, that hasn't had loads of an effect, because they've had a kind of a takeover of ownership where the new owners can spend way more than Delia Smith ever could, really, in terms of out of their own pockets. We were speaking before on our program about the fact that Norwich have sort of come close to breaking even this summer, so that hasn't really necessarily been needed too much. But I think the problem for them at the moment is, well, it's more just that it hasn't really come together yet, rather than the sort of spending elements. So it's been 4 years now, which is the longest that Norwich have spent in the Championship since 2009, when they went down to League One. So Norwich fans aren't really used to kind of waiting this long, especially when you consider that the closest they've come to promotion in that time was finishing 6th and losing 4-0 to Leeds in the second leg of the playoff semi-finals. So it's kind of that's the problem really for Norwich. That's where all of the any negativity comes from. I think, although obviously there will be small instances that will cause that negativity, for me, I think on a broader level, it comes from the fact that Norwich fans just aren't used to this long without really mounting any sort of serious promotion challenge. So I think the pressure is definitely there for them to try to get up as quickly as possible, and I think that's why people at the club have been very clear that that's what they're trying to do this season. I don't think you'd find many people, probably, I mean, internally they'll always be open to it, but I think if you found them in a quiet moment, internally or externally, I don't think you'd find many who would say they're likely to get promoted automatically. But they definitely think now that playoffs is realistic this season, and I think that's what people inside the club and fans are hoping for this season. And ultimately, if they don't even get close, then then that's going to be a failure of a season.
Yeah, that League One campaign was something else, wasn't it? You lost the first game of the season 6-1. Was it to Colchester?
7-1, yeah. So that was kind of a turning point. That it was, I think at that point probably the odds he would have got on Norwich going down to League Two at that point would have been pretty small. But that was kind of the turning point. So it was, you had like 2009 up till 2022. When it was kind of up and down, and it was all that yo-yoing, which obviously at the time Norwich fans weren't particularly happy with, and they wanted it to be, the main big goal was establishing themselves as a Premier League club. I think if you offered a lot of Norwich fans now the chance to go up and down every season and to be in that promotion race and that relegation fight, then they'd definitely take that compared to sort of the last few seasons.
Is Delia Smith still around the club, is she? Because she was there last season. I remember us walking into the ground. I saw her there.
Oh yeah. She owns.
It's quite funny because it felt like she was actually telling somebody who she was.
Oh yeah.
And they had to point her to the ticket office to go and get a ticket first before she could walk in. And she was going, but don't you know who I am? It was like that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen any interaction like that, but it's that's interesting. I don't know who around the Norwich City, who around Carrow Road wouldn't know who Delia Smith was, but I can imagine that person might have got a bit of a telling off, because she still owns, I think, around 10% of the club, and they still go to every home game as far as I'm aware. I think they still they're the hosts of the director's box, because Norwich's new owners are based in America, so they're not there as regularly. So Delia is definitely still a big presence, and I'm not surprised she said, "Oh, don't you know who I am?" type thing, if that's what happened.
Also, sorry, I'll let Jack in just a second. Does it worry you that your owners are from abroad at all?
Not really, but I suppose there hasn't been any chance to worry about that. You know, you kind of you see a lot of clubs where they've felt the negative impacts of people who maybe originally got excited about football and then realised they couldn't just put in a few million quid and it all changed in their direction and sort of that went negatively. But I think for a couple of reasons that hasn't been the case. First of all, it's too early really to have had that kind of confrontation. It's only been sort of maybe 6 months since they were officially ratified as the majority shareholders. They did a kind of thing where they took over, or they owned about 15% to start off with, and then built it up and up over a couple of years. So there's that element, and there's also the element that, to be fair, the owners, even though they are from America and they maybe don't have that local link that Delia did, they just seem like they've got their head screwed on. Basically, they seem like they're quite moderate people who aren't, you know, you get sometimes these kind of crazy characters who come in and they don't really they don't really give off that vibe at all. So I'm not particularly worried. I don't think fans are particularly worried. There probably were some of those discussions when they first came in, but most people who have seen sort of interviews with them and have seen the way that the club's been conducted since they've come in, I don't think have too many worries that it's going to go sour.
So have they brought in their own CEO and things like that then? Is that
they haven't really done that kind of because I think when they came in, a lot of people were expecting there would be this overhaul and they bring in their own people, and obviously they have their say on things. I think they speak to the sporting director quite regularly about the way that things play out, but they definitely haven't done a kind of laying the marker down, bringing in their own people and transforming things in that way. I think they very much have faith in people who are already at the club. I think they have a good relationship with the sporting director, and they were they were part of the process to hire him. It wasn't they didn't sack the last one, so it wasn't like their guy type thing, and they hadn't worked with him before. But they were part of that interview process. So he's someone they can work with, even if he's not sort of typically their man. So yeah, it hasn't really played out like that, and that's probably an example of what I was talking about before in terms of the fact that they look quite moderate rather than being some of these crazy characters that you see sometimes.
Well, I'm good cop tonight. I'm going to bring in bad cop now. I think it's Jack.
Bad cop? Where's that come from? Well, evening, Samuel. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
No, of course.
So, question about the performances so far this campaign: 6 games, 3 wins, 3 losses, and all 3 wins have come away from home, and all 3 losses at Carrow Road. I kind of had Carrow Road as a bit of a fortress, or always have that perspective that it is. What's happened for this to have happened, and does that give you some confidence going into Saturday's game?
It's a good question. I think probably what I take from it so far is a couple of things. I think Liam Manning, as opposed to Yanisov Torup, the Norwich head coach last season, is slightly more pragmatic in his style. It's definitely not kind of Tony Pulis route one, but he's certainly happier to if you need to sit off and be a little bit more just soak up the pressure, which you'd say obviously suits playing away from home more than playing at home. And also when you look at some of the upheaval there's been at Norwich, they've signed 12 senior players this summer. They've obviously got a new head coach, and I think personally, when you look at the sort of 2 different styles of play, the possession based attacking style of play, which Norwich really are under pressure to play at home. When you think the size of the club in the Championship, the expectations, you can't really play that defensively at home, and then away from home, where obviously they're a little bit freer to do that. I think you look at those 2 things, and for me, it's quite a lot easier to sort of work out a kind of a temporary plan and come in and quickly organise people to play that more defensive side, rather than the possession based, where you have to kind of build relationships between players. You have to maybe work on some more complex tactical systems, and I think that all takes a bit more time than it does to play a slightly more defensive style. So for me, that's probably the difference. And then in terms of this weekend, I think it naturally would have to give you confidence. But I was speaking to Claudio earlier about the Coventry and the way that they've been at home. So since I've been hearing about that and how positive it's looked at the CBS this season, I'm maybe slightly less confident, on that. But ultimately, it'll be interesting because, as you said, Norwich have such a good away record so far. They've shown a lot of the elements you need to get championship wins away from home, and I'm sure they'll be desperate to carry it on. But I think it's probably their toughest test of the season so far away from home. So, that could be the difference, really.
Yeah, I think we'd say the same. Toughest test for us so far. Yes, we're at home, but it's still a hard game. You mentioned you've brought in 12 players. You've obviously sold quite a lot as well. I think a similar number. That includes the departures of Borja Sainz, who was obviously one of the better players, especially in the first half of last season. Yeah. And Nunes, dare I mention it, to a club that's not too far away from yourselves. Obviously, you've kept Josh Sargent, which is a bit of from our point of view, is a shock. You must be so over the moon of that. But how does it feel about losing 12 and, like I say, those two players as well?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the quality of the player. As he said, I think there'll be some in there who Norwich won't miss. And to be honest, as a net loss in terms of not paying their wages, I think there are a few that probably they were quite pleased to get off the books. But, you look at even though Vladan Kovacevic, the new goalkeeper, has had a couple of good games so far, they've lost Angus Gunn, who I think in the 23-24 season for me was the best goalkeeper in the Championship. They have lost a bit of that experience and kind of the players who know the club. But mainly you'd be looking at Sainz and Nunes and what they've contributed to the club previously. I think Sainz, you kind of got it with your summation that he was much better in the first half of last season, which meant that although as kind of a net product from last season, Norwich might have lost a few goals and assists. I think you look at what he contributed in the last few months, and actually as a team from the last day of last season to the first day of this season, did they really lose loads by losing Sainz? I don't think they lost enough, for it not to have justified a £14 million or £14.25 million fee, which is what Porto paid in the first place. So I think in terms of those losses, obviously there was a lot of anger around Nunes, as you mentioned. But I think if you'd offered most Norwich fans, the chance to keep Josh Sargent, but they lose all of those players, there aren't too many players who they would have kept at the building. If they had that deal, they would have kept Josh Sargent over almost anything. So I think for me, they will be viewing that as a successful window, even when you look at the other outs, because Sargent is so much more important to what they do and so much better of a player, to be honest, than anyone else they've got in that squad. So I think even though in numbers there have been a lot of losses, ultimately keeping Sargent is bigger than all of that really for Norwich.
So how have you managed to keep hold of him when there was all this speculation about he's going to go? There was rumours of Italy, I think. People were saying we were linked with him. We weren't linked with him. We just wanted him. But I think every championship club wanted him. Yeah. So how have you kept him? And did you expect him to go?
Yeah, I expected him. I completely expected him to going into the summer. To be honest, I think I'm no less shocked than you are. Obviously, it got to the last few days and it felt likely that he was going to stay. But for the large majority of the window, I would have said that Sargent was more likely to go than stay. And part of it was by design. I think when it got to the latter stages of the window, they kind of they put the price that it would have taken to sign him a lot higher, because obviously replacing him within a couple of days is basically impossible when you think about his quality. But earlier in the window, the club were actually happy to sell. What we were hearing was that Sargent was actually willing to go for the right offer, but there was an offer from Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. They were very close to agreeing a fee with Norwich, and Sargent actually turned them down. So part of it is what Norwich did later in the window, but earlier in the window, it was about Sargent and what he wanted. So I think there's been a little bit of fortune in there, probably a few factors, and I think if you kind of replayed the summer window, there's probably, again, a decent chance that he would have gone. And we'll see what happens in January. But yeah, I mean, it's it's absolutely massive. Anyone who's watched him, any Championship fan, will know how big it is for Norwich and how big it would be for any club to keep Josh Sargent. So yeah, I think it's got the it could transform their season keeping him, and for me that's the biggest thing that they did in the summer window by miles, really.
Fair enough. Claudio, you want to carry on?
Do you think you kept him because you sold the other players? Because no doubt you had to sell players because of the finances. So do you reckon the fact you got rid of Rowe as well as Nunez and Sands, that kind of made it a bit easier to keep him? Because obviously you didn't have to sell him, do you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think financially, in terms of the actual money, they probably, I mean, these owners are probably rich enough that they didn't really need to sell anyone. They've said that before, but maybe with the sort of PSR rules and stuff like that, obviously, if you sign players worth sort of 30 million upwards, and then you don't sell anyone, then you do that a few windows in a row, and you're going to be in trouble. So maybe that was kind of a factor. Obviously, there was the Nunez element that I think earlier on in the window they'd been budgeting for kind of 2, 3, 4 million, but then obviously Ipswich come in and the fee is much higher because they know the fallout it's going to cause, and all of a sudden you've got a 10 million package on the table for a £3 million player. And maybe that does give them a little bit more financial wiggle room in terms of Sargent, as you mentioned, Science as well. And although Jonathan Rowe was, he was actually, they kind of budgeted for him last summer because although he was loaned, it was an obligation. So they expected to have that money. They have done, obviously, as I think it's kind of, it's well known now that Norwich have done quite well with sales over the last few years. So maybe that has kind of helped them out, but yeah, every year the pressure to sell Josh Sargent kind of gets more and more, and probably the fee that they can command for him has got more and more. So yeah, as I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens in future windows. But yeah, that probably is true that the finances and selling other players has allowed them to do that, because if they hadn't brought in anything, then yeah, you're looking at a £35 million surplus to stick on the balance sheet for for PRS going forward, and or PSR going forward, and that would have been a bit of a problem.
Before we carry on talking about this Saturday, you probably don't know if you realise this, but Doug King, his football team is Norwich City.
Yeah,
I think he's from Norwich. He's from that way, I think, and also. I just wanted to know what was the impact that James Maddison had when he came to Norwich.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, King, I knew about because I've got a colleague at the EDP called Paddy Davitt, who's actually a Coventry fan. So it was kind of it was the perfect overlap for him to have a Norwich fan taken over at Coventry. And I have seen a few comments, particularly when it's not been going particularly well, of Norwich fans saying, "Oh, why couldn't we be taken over by him?" Although when things go well, that seems to subside a little bit. So yeah, that is really interesting to see him taking over another Championship club, and it would be interesting to know actually if he's ever expressed any interest in Norwich. But obviously that's kind of, I think, another reason maybe for Norwich fans to wish him well at Coventry. Obviously, is when it's not against Norwich. But yeah, James Maddison, I think, is one of the best players I've seen in a Norwich shirt. I think because they've had quite a few of those individual stars. When I talked about selling players, they've tended to be quite good at developing really good ones. So there are sort of a few in and around him. I think Emi Buendia, I'd say, was maybe just slightly better in a Norwich shirt. But when you consider Maddison's age when he was at the club, how much he cost them to sign from Coventry, and the fact that obviously you've seen what he's gone on.
What you pay for him was ridiculous. That wouldn't happen now with Doug King, you see, would it, Jack?
Yeah.
You would not let him go for like £1 million, whatever it was. It just would not happen with virtually no sell on.
I think it's
dreadful.
Now you look back on it and it's a complete bargain, but it's kind of it's weird to think now because the clubs are quite even. But back at that time, the idea that Norwich could kind of poach one of Coventry's young talents for quite a small fee, I suppose it shows how far Coventry have come, and maybe a little bit how much Norwich have slid, because I think they were in the Premier League when they bought Maddison. But yeah, he went on to obviously be an incredible player, and even though he maybe wasn't hitting the same heights that he has at Leicester and Tottenham, he was certainly getting close. And at his age then, he to be honest, he probably kept Norwich up because they finished 14th the season that he was there. The season that he was in the first team playing games. He scored so many goals and got so many assists. You kind of wonder where they would have been without him. And then that summer, that was when they actually did have kind of real financial issues. And I think his sale then was an absolutely huge boost at a really critical time. So yeah, he probably saved the club to an extent as well. So definitely fondly remembered at Norwich as well as Coventry, as I can imagine.
Am I right, Jack, in saying that Sam McCallum went there and came back on loan as well? So that doesn't happen very often, does it? Where we sell a player and get them back on loan again. He was great for us as well, wasn't he? He was a good player.
Yeah, we obviously sold him in the January. We had him for the rest of the season, and then we got him for another year as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, because he I presume he must have come in for pre-season and they didn't think he was quite ready or something. I mean, he was pretty decent for Norwich. He was like a decent, fine Championship player. Obviously, he was never going to get sold on for 20 million like Maddison, but yeah, he was perfectly good. And yeah, obviously now, Sheffield United.
I think Doug did look at Norwich, but he decided he wanted a bigger club. Apparently, that's what
I couldn't possibly comment.
You're saying that. Well, we've got a comment from Will here. He says the family's from Lowestoft in Suffolk. Obviously, Norwich in Norfolk. So
yeah, I think Lowestoft is right on the border, so it's one of the very few places you can go around, and they're in Norwich and Ipswich shirts. So thankfully, he's falling on the right side.
The right end of the street. I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Will. So Liam Manning, a bit left field, wasn't it? I was not expecting that at all. What was the fans like when that? Because it'd be interesting to see. Because if he'd come to Coventry instead of Frank Lampard, I think the reaction might have been very mixed, wouldn't it, Jack? That I know he's done okay at Bristol City, but I don't think people would be going, "Oh, fantastic, we got Liam Manning." So, what was the reaction like at Norwich?
I think it kind of was quite positive, to be honest. I don't know if part of it was what he represents, really. I think I always say whenever you sack a manager, the danger is you swing like a pendulum and things go wrong with one manager, they get sacked, and you want the absolute opposite, the direct, the diametric opposite of what that manager offered. And I think when Manning came in and maybe had a bit more of that suggestion of pragmatism, because Torop was about a real ideological style of play and playing the same way every single game. He obviously had that kind of that Scandinavian analytical, tactical background, and I don't think many Norwich fans at all had heard of him when he first arrived at the club. To then get somebody who they'd obviously seen in the opposition dugout, had beaten Norwich twice in the previous season. I think because it didn't go well with Torop, and because Manning was the opposite to him in a lot of ways, actually it was received pretty well. But I thought they did quite well to get him. When you think about the fact Bristol City finished 6th, Norwich finished 13th last season, to get him to leave that project to come to Norwich. And I understand Norwich probably have a bit more money to play with. They've got a squad that I think they can get a lot more out of than they did last season as well. But I thought, when you look at what he did last season, I thought they did quite well to get him. And generally, I'd say that's what Norwich fans were saying. I think probably 75% of them were pretty happy with it. But yeah, I think the failures of Torop kind of played into that a little bit as well.
I don't know what Jack thinks, but there's not a lot of choice out there, is there? I don't think when it comes to managers nowadays. There's a bit of a merry-go-round, isn't there? Even in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, if instead of getting Lampard, we'd have got Liam Manning last November, I'd have gone, who's he? Who's he managed? Never heard of him. I'll be honest, I think I've only probably heard of him because he got Bristol City to the playoffs last year. Other than that, I wouldn't have had a clue. I've just looked at his managerial history: MK Dons, Oxford, Bristol City, and now Norwich, and that's it. It's like, fair play if he's doing a great job and he's on the up. And Kieran McKenna was a bit of a nobody 3 years ago, and all of a sudden he was flavour of the month tip for Manchester United manager at one point. So if Liam Manning's the next up and coming thing, and he's going to get you near the top of the table, then absolutely fair play. But a year ago, I would have said no, thank you.
Yeah, he was born in Norwich, I think, which helped as well. He's not a Norwich fan, but he was born in Norwich, so I think that's kind of what helped in terms of people having heard of him, because he you see someone born in the area. It's a bit like Paul Warne, you kind of see someone born in the area and you track their career a little bit, so that probably helped. But I could understand if it was.
He did 3 years in your youth academy and then 2 years at Ipswich's youth academy.
Yeah. There was a lot of discussion. There were a lot of rumours that he was an Ipswich fan at the time, but he quickly dispelled those.
So what can we expect from your team on Saturday? How do you play? What's the way? Have you got a different approach from home games to away games, or is it the same way and it's just working out at home and away from home and not at home?
I think it's a little bit different. It's not completely different, but I would say it probably is a little bit more pragmatic away from home. They also try to counter. It's not necessarily long ball, but they won't. They keep the tempo quite high, and if they win the ball and they see a chance to get Sargent in on goal, then they'll do it straight away, which has actually worked really well for them away from home. And you look at kind of some of the qualities that they've got. I think for the first time in a while, they haven't really got that creative player in there, like Maddison, like we were talking about earlier, Buendia. I don't know if you guys remember Wes Houlihan, but Norwich have kind of a long line of really good creative midfielders. And at the moment, they're kind of a bit more physical. They've got a few more runners and some of those kind of pacey players. So I think that counter-attacking approach works quite well for them. And when you think about the fact that Coventry have been quite offensive so far this season, I could see Norwich soaking up a bit of that and then trying to counter with quality and not necessarily with kind of aerial balls and being just purely physical and horrible. But I just the way I see it playing out with how the two teams play, I could see Coventry maybe keeping the ball and it being a little bit slower when they've got it, and then Norwich maybe springing forward and being a little bit more aggressive with it. But obviously you guys have seen Coventry every game, so you might tell me different, but that's kind of how I would see it when you look at the two teams.
What do you think, Jack?
I've seen us play Norwich maybe 7 times and not win. In this comment here, since 2003, Coventry have won 4, drew 7, lost 13, scored 23. Norwich, obviously the reverse, and scored 44. You're one of our bogey teams. It's as simple as that. And with the start we've had, I would say there's no better time to play Norwich. And the only better time to play you right now is if we're at Carrow Road and not at the CBS, apparently. So one part of me says, well, we're brilliant at the moment. We're going to score goals. And the other part of me says, but you're good on the counter-attack. We always lose to you. Josh Sargent's brilliant. You're going to score on the counter-attack. So...
Well, hopefully both are true, and it ends up being a really entertaining game.
I've seen us lose 4-2 at home to you a couple of years ago. That wasn't a fun day. I've seen us lose 3-0 at Carrow Road as well. We were 1-0 up on the 90th minute last year at Carrow Road, and we lost the game. So that's just what you are to us. You are a bogey club. We've had a habit recently of ending our little bogey things. We had one away at Swansea. We won 2-0. We had one against Preston. We won 2-1 at home, even though their goal was 4 miles offside. Derby, we were terrible against and battered them 5-3 away the other week. We've always had a decent record against QPR, but first game at home again for us, we absolutely battered them. Yeah. Now, it's the sort of the vibe we've got since Lampard's come in is he keeps saying, "Oh, these aren't my hoodoos. It's nothing to do with me. It's another football game," and it's almost like that. The players, Claudio and myself, we spoke to Ben Sheaf last year, and he said, who was our captain, who's obviously moved on to Wrexham. Yeah. He said that there's a few places he's never won against, or a few teams he's never won against. So clearly, it's in a player's mind. But with Frank coming in, going, nothing to do with me, it's a football game, I've got to win. And the fact he's only had 2 seasons in the Championship means he can't have even accumulated these sort of hoodoos. Yeah. So to him, it'll be another game. We're in good form. We're at home. We back ourselves, basically.
It's weird though, Jack, because I was talking to Samuel earlier, with Norwich, back in the Highfield Road days, we rarely lost to them. They could never get anything out of us. It's since we've been at the CBS or the Rico, at the arena, that new hoodoos have appeared out of nowhere. Where
And yeah, I've looked at the stats ever. We've won 54, drawn 36, lost 40. Now, if you take out the last 12 games where we've lost 9 and drew 3, that's 54 wins, 33 draws, and 31 losses.
yeah,
So
it's
if you
incredible.
remove the last 9, our record is unbelievable against Norwich, really. It's
So,
just in my lifetime. That's the problem.
another
Yeah.
7-1 then. There you go. So apart from Josh Sargent, then Samuel, who else do we need to look out for? When I'm sitting there with me Bovril and me pie, who am I gonna think? Oh, we need to
Prawn
mark it.
sandwich.
Prawn sandwich. Yeah, I'm in the VPs on Saturday, so it'd be a prawn sandwich. Yeah. So
Yeah. I will say the press box food there is fantastic. So if you're if they cater similarly for the what was it you said you're in? VP, I don't know the
VP.
CVS. This is the problem.
It's the one below the boardroom. So I'm in there.
There you go. That's pretty professional. That might be even better than the press box food. It probably is. But yeah, I think they've got a summer signing called Papa Amadou Diallo, who's kind of he's a really pacey winger. I don't know what it is about especially as a fan, when I was watching Norwich, I always found it difficult to watch them against those really direct players who kind of properly get at you. And even if they don't produce end product, they seem to really put the fear in kind of opposition fans. And I think Diallo is kind of one of them. To be fair, his end product hasn't been terrible. It's been okay, but he kind of is one of those real runners who will just drive forward with the ball and be really direct. He was one of those players I was talking about in terms of some of the qualities they've got suiting sort of counter attack. So I'd probably say look out for him. Ante Cianats on the other side is he's quite a talented player, but he's had quite a poor season so far. And then probably alongside Josh Sargent up front, they'll have Matthias Quiscoren, who's kind of their headline signing this summer, cost just under 7 million from Bromby, and I think a lot of fans are really excited about him. It feels like he's just about getting into his rhythm after a few weeks, kind of getting used to it, and he's still yet to score his first goal for Norwich. So I think he'll be desperate to do that this weekend. But yeah, I think there are probably a few players who will kind of get Coventry fans a little bit scared in terms of the way that they play and how direct they are. But then it's about whether they can actually produce that quality or if they won't really be able to have that end product.
That's interesting. Yes, we don't like players who run at us, especially our defenders. They play out wide, do they? They're wide players.
Yeah, Diallo is a left winger. Ante Cianats plays on the right wing, and then Quiscoren he's kind of similar. He's a bit more of he's not got maybe the same pace, but he likes to dribble, so he'll do a bit of that. But he kind of plays just slightly behind Sargent. He's kind of a striker, but he'll get on the ball a little bit more than Sargent will.
So I suppose we better go to score predictions. I'll start with Jack.
No, you won't. I don't know. I really don't know. I've just seen this comment from Steve. So the stats say expected goals is 7, so he's going for a 4-3 win. It doesn't sound too unrealistic. That's the problem with how we are at the moment. I really want to back us to win, but there's a curse against us. I'm going to say an exciting 2-2.
Well, on Sam's show, I said 2-1 to the City, as in Coventry City. I just feel we will concede because we do, and I'm hoping we just edge it. And I'm going for a 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same. Well, I didn't say 2-1. I said I gave my score prediction earlier as well, and tempted as I am to mix it up based on how exciting Jack said it might be. I still feel like coming back from an international break, to quite evenly matched sides, and probably Liam Manning and being a little bit more pragmatic, Norwich being relatively defensively solid on the road. I think probably a lot of Norwich fans would take a draw, and I'm going to say 1-1, which I don't think it'd probably be a ever so slightly better result for Norwich, but I don't think it would be a dreadful result for both teams. But based on Coventry's season so far, that would probably be unbelievably boring compared to what you've already seen, but it feels to me like a 1-1 this weekend.
Well, Samuel, thank you for coming on, and we've kept you on for quite a bit actually. But
No, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
It's been great having you on. And where can we find you if you want to look in on our little chat earlier?
Yeah, it's at the Pinken YouTube channel. You'll find that episode with me and Claudio talking about this weekend's game. And if there are any Norwich fans who are watching this, pinken.com is the place to go for for all the sort of news and coverage of this weekend's game.
Cheers, and hopefully we'll catch up later on in the season for the
reverse
fixture.
Cheers, guys. Good to speak to you.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming on.
A lot.
What a superb guest. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, with no disrespect to fans that come on, having a professional like he is you get another level of inside information, don't you? Like everything he spoke about is unbelievable, and just to hear everything, it's nice to connect with other fans of fan bases, and that's what we hope to bring you on the channel, basically.
Well, being a journo for the local paper helps as well, doesn't it? That's definitely. But going back to us then, Jack, have we got any comments up there, by the way, with yakking away?
I'm trying to keep up with them. With everything.
Your cheeks out. Just read what you can.
BCFC 26, pink paper in Brum. It was the Sports Argus. He said, great channel. I'm a Blue Nose, but I love watching this because we have nothing like it. I like Claudio's honesty. Fantastic. Well,
thank you.
Keep watching for the next 2 weeks and you'll get some inside info and you can report back for you.
You're going to have a really good Blues fan on, Claire. She's magnificent. Really good. Really good.
Fantastic. Yeah. Will said, I thought Doug's answers to the Q&A in the stadium, etc. were very good and very worth watching. Top 5 deck ATM onwards to top 2. Well, we'll find out, won't we, Will? Thank you for commenting again.
I love Will's confidence.
Yeah, I've noticed Norwich have scored lots of goals from set pieces. That's been our downfall so far this season. Thank you very much, Steve. I'd like to correct my prediction to a 3-2 loss.
Well, hopefully the scouting people have noticed that.
I just want to say Miles has just sent us a message saying he's going for a 3-2 win. So I've popped that in our spreadsheet, just awaiting to hear from Ken and hopefully Vicky. Oh, Ken's just put 3-1.
3-1.
So very positive all round. I'm the only negative one at the moment. Let's hope we can hear from Vicky, who's on her cruise before the game.
I'll tell you what, a draw being negative is pretty good for us.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I've just read that one out. Yeah, there was loads of chit chat, loads of comments. I'm trying to keep up. For anyone who hasn't seen, Back Past the Retro Football Mag has a feature on the Sky Blues 1945 to 1970. So Claudio's heyday. Think Jim Brown has contributed to it. Really good piece.
I wonder why he put that in our WhatsApp chat. I totally ignored it.
And then we've got the classics. Let's be having you. Where are you?
Yes.
Very good, gentlemen. What else we got? Well, let this Saturday be an away game where Norwich looks changes. We are breaking hoodoos this year. Time for another one. Exactly. We could do it. People talking about Sargent saying he would have been a major loss. We said it wouldn't be a major loss if Sims went, though. He wouldn't be noticed. Good job, Vicky's not here to defend him.
Was that meant to be a pun beforehand? Sargent would have been a major loss. That was very clever.
I didn't even notice that. Where's Cliche Man? That should be a yellow card.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Hey, lads, I'm a Ram, and I'm saying with Frank Lampard, you're going to Wembley. Good luck. Thank you very much, Paul.
Well, that's nice and positive, because normally we've got those two on the second tier podcast who are absolutely, they're not Lampard fans, are they?
Well, you've just said a bit of positivity. Do you want to read this one out?
Let's be honest, we usually lose to Norwich. That's Mad Frankie.
Thank you, Mad Frankie. Hi, all the way from the west coast of Ireland. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
I'm not doing that accent.
No, I won't either. Paul was going to say top 2, but it was just being friendly. Wow.
Oh.
Fair enough. Philip, Sky Blue in Spain. Forget naming stands. Let's have the Stadium of Statues.
Well,
how many more do you want?
I mean, obviously, if you're an England travelling fan, you've probably been to the Olympic Stadium in Italy, in Rome. It's magnificent. When you walk in, apart from the mosaic floor, which is bizarre for any football stadium, they've got like a running track next to the actual ground, and it's got old Roman statues all the way around it. It's just absolutely magnificent. And I think we probably should do that at CBS. Imagine that all the way around the ground. Have all the ex-players as gladiators.
Host a gladiator day. And
Yeah.
like that. Salop says, look at Claudio all coy about being a VIP VP. He said, I will throw some popcorn at you from above. Look out for him, because we were spotted, weren't we, the other week, Claudio, when we were sat together for the QPR game. We were spotted and photographed from above.
In fairness, it's the only way I can get Luca into the ground with his crutches and his leg at the minute. So he's got a season ticket to Paul and he hasn't seen a game yet, home or away. So it's a bit, yeah.
Robin said, an old Norwich fan here. I remember watching one match at Highfield Road a Tuesday night. We lost. Has been on my way, Florence.
Oh.
Different attitude this season at the CBS, says Mick Kelly. No more bogey teams. We're on the up. Beware Norwich 3-0 to the Sky Blues. Excellent.
There's definitely an air of confidence, I think, with the fan base now. Definitely.
Wolfenden debut versus Norwich should be interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that as an Ipswich player. Yeah, an Ipswich fan as well, isn't he?
I'd like him to come in.
Hadji will outscore Sargent. Let's hope so, David. I think it'd be a great game against the Canaries. I'm going for a 3-1 win with Victor Torp to be the difference. He is class. Yeah. Claudio not falling out with a guest. Shock. Why? Who have you been falling out with, Claudio?
Probably referring to the Leicester fan way back. Should get back on this season.
Well, next week. It's next week. Get him on. Give him a ring.
Let's get Gary Lineker on. Now he's doing nothing. Now he's winning the awards at the NTA Awards, being able to say things because he's on a platform. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Our attackers continue to be on fire. We'll have too much for them as our fans will make it a cauldron in the CBS. Lee Beckett says, like and subscribe. Yes, please do.
Yes.
We'd much appreciate that. I was looking forward to the Cov game, but after your start, 14 goals, I'm a little bit worried. Yeah. Yeah, but we'll have burnt out by then. Don't worry. There we go. We're all caught up. So what's the next topic of conversation?
Well, I mean, we're looking at the game, obviously, on Saturday. Well, we talked about Luke Wolfenden coming in, but in all seriousness, what do we do in terms of the lineup? Basically, what do you think Frank will do?
It depends on De Silva's fitness, whether he plays. It sounds like, I mean, we've only heard from, I think, Andy Turner saying it was a minor injury of an ankle and that he's in contention for the game. If he's fit, he plays, in my opinion. If he's not, it's probably going to be Brow, isn't it? That's why we brought him in, to be ahead of Bidwell in the pecking order. I would bring Luke in for Bobby, like I say. But again, I don't know whether he's going to be led in a bit slower than shoved straight in. Although, like you say, he's come here to play games. Maybe he will just play. And I'd leave the rest unchanged. Nine unchanged after that, for sure. So it would only be forced change on the left-back position.
It's good to see, because at one stage when Mark Robbins was still manager, the team would change a lot, wouldn't it? It's almost like he couldn't decide who should be playing. And somebody was saying about the captaincy. I mean, if you think about it, how many players are actual definite starters? Now, for me, if they're all fit, and I thought about this, obviously going from the back, I would say, for me, Luke Wolfenden would be a starter. And Milan, starter. Matt Grimes, Torp, Radoni, Wright. I think the rest are up for grabs. I really do.
What about Rushworth, given that Dovin's injured?
Obviously the keeper, sorry. So that's it. So there's 4 positions. Because really, even left back, I mean, I know De Silva started well, but, you know, what I mean by this is, the players I mentioned are the players who, if they have a couple of bad games, aren't getting dropped. They're going to be playing still.
Whereas what about Efron?
Well, he takes
no real competition there, is there?
He takes him off, though, doesn't he? He takes him out. He's done it with I know Asante started,
yeah, but now he hasn't got Raphael to be able to do that.
Well, true.
He's got Brow to potentially put there on the wing, but if De Silva's injured, Brow's going to be playing left back. So, yeah, there's that. I think at the moment, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake there. Frank Wood, good point. Tats has got to play. I think Tats comes back in. The 5-minute cameo he showed was much better than Asante, who had a lackluster game, let's say, against Oxford. So Tats plays. So,
and I think, so some players, I think, even if they do have a dodgy game, they'll be playing the next game. But some players at the moment won't get dropped because there is no real competition. And I think this is where the squad is a little bit thin. Yeah, first 11, if they all stay fit, a top 6. I think. I don't even. There's no question for me, to be honest. But it's a long season, isn't it? That's Gibbo's put a team up there. What's that say? That's
Rushforth, MVE, Wolf, Kitch, De Silva, Grimes, Torp, Radona, EMC, Sakamoto. Right, that's exactly the team I'd play if they're all available. Like I say, with the injury risk of De Silva, maybe give him another week. And does Wolf play over Bobby? That's up to Lampard.
Can KKH play on both sides?
Yeah, he played. He actually played more games at Preston last year on the left than he did on the right.
So that's interesting. So that could happen.
But we've got 3 left backs without KKH. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We bought KKH to be either a Milan replacement or a Milan, head to head. Who's going to play there? We bought Browin to be a left back to challenge De Silva and probably push his way into the starting 11. So I don't see KKH being played on the left unless it's necessary through injuries or suspensions or whatever. It's like Radoni can play on the wing if you're desperate, but I wouldn't ever start him there unless we have to.
No, I thought he looked lousy on the wing, to be honest. Not enough room to play, basically. He can do some nice stuff down the wing, but when he's more central, he's got the whole pitch to play in. It's a bit like Haji Wright. When I look at Haji Wright down the middle, he can go left and right. And he's got more space.
Yeah.
But with Brow, I've seen him play more times further forward than in defence at the minute when he comes on. So
that's the thing. We need to find his best position, don't we? Again, he's new to the country. He's new to the club. Yes, he's had a full pre-season, but it will take time to adjust. And I'm glad it's one player that's taking this adjustment, not 6 or 7, to be honest.
Yeah. So you're going with Gibbo's team then? You reckon that would be the starting lineup?
Yeah, that's my. What about you? That'd be my pick.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that because I would like to see Wolfenden start. I think it used to happen in the old days. I mean, this is a guy who's, I'd imagine he had to be ready to come on for Ipswich at any time. So he's got to be fit to play. So I'd go for it. We're still conceding too many goals, aren't we?
Yeah. And if we've just, we've got Josh Sargent, who's possibly one of the best strikers in the league, if not the best, to deal with, who we've never been too successful at dealing with in the past. A very leaky defence, terrible from set pieces that they're quite good at. He'll bring some experience, he'll bring some leadership, he'll bring some organisation. And that's exactly what we need, and it's exactly why he should play the game, for definite.
So, any more comments?
There's been loads coming in about the team. Kitch will be instructed to go hard. Do you think Frank could go for a 3-4-1-2? I'd call it more of a back 5 than a back 3 anyway, because we'd play with wing backs, not midfielders. So, but I mean, it's always a possibility. That's what Lee Beckett thinks as well as a 3-5-2. It's a possibility. I just don't see Frank doing that when we've got a starting 11 fully fit and capable to be playing 4-3-3 exactly how he wants to play. That's exactly how he will play it. If that is unavailable because we don't have wingers or don't have whatever positions, which means we can't do that, or we don't have a Hadji to be a man on his own up front, and we have to therefore have a combination of Sims and Asante, then he may change things around like he had to in the winter last year. But while he can start with a 4-3-3, he will do, and I'm fairly confident in saying that.
I'm just going to disappear off screen and let Jack carry on with the comments because I need to go and fetch something. It is for the programme. Back in a second.
Salop's talking to the Birmingham fan. You have a little TV documentary about Tom Brady's ego and motivational talks with some added content. Birmingham City extras on the side. Well, there you go. What else have we got? We're a different team this season from King Carlos. We'll beat Norwich 2-1. Whoever scouted Torp has earned his money. You're absolutely right. It's taken maybe a bit longer than we'd have liked for him to become the player that he is today. But at least he has become the player he is today. Injuries plagued him a little bit last season. Poor away form he struggled with. But if he's going to play week in, week out, he's one hell of a player that this league need to look out for and will compete with the very best. He really will. The thing is, he will be forced to rotate the team to give the players a rest. Not yet, he won't. We've got 5 games between now and the international break, or maybe 6, and only one of them's midweek, and that's Millwall. So we won't need to rotate anything until at least the next international break. The problem we'll have is when we come back from international break in November, we've then got to go through till March with no break, and then we've got the Christmas period, the January transfer window. That's always chaos. That's where we're going to struggle, if anything. But we might then bring some players in January. So you never know. I'd be surprised if Wolfenden starts. Frank Lampard will wait till he's settled in. It's also what I kind of think, Steve. So Wolfenden starts, misses his first header, and everyone goes crazy saying he should be dropped. Yeah, absolutely. Webby's World on #1 Cov fan in sunny Tenerife. Welcome. And the Macam Cabby's here. Good evening, very good evening. Good luck in the Premier League once again. Claudio's back. What have you got to show us, Claudio?
Well, should we do some promotions, shall we? So I'll let you put the things up.
I've got to find them now.
Oh, yes, you've got to find them.
Well, here's the first one. We've got a David Speedie
There you go. Look, there's the new book.
So go and get yourself a copy. Go and speed read David Speedie, as Claudio said off air. And then you're ready for 2 weeks' time when we've got our live show.
I shall read what it says on the back. It says, "The David Speedie story is the no-holds-barred autobiography of the former Scotland international and top-flight English Football League striker." There you go. The best club I ever played for was Coventry City. I'm just putting that in there. He hasn't put that. I've just said that. And there you go. So that's the new book. He'll be promoting that obviously on the night. He'll be signing it as well. So do come to the evening. It'll be a good night. We'll quiz him, and I'm going to have a good old read of this book, and I'll be Miles are doing the questions. I'll be setting it up for him, and hopefully, it's got big writing in it. That's good. That's helpful.
Yes, the ticket's still available at £10. Head over to the link or the Walsgrave Working Men's Club. It's also in our YouTube descriptions as well. So if you're interested in coming along to that, should be a great night. I won't have much input, if I'm honest. I'll just be walking around the audience getting your questions. But I think we'll be doing a quiz as well and a raffle, so there'll be prizes and God knows what. So it'll be a great night. Come down and join us.
Brilliant. There you go. The David Speedie story. Just arrived today.
We're not on commission, I promise.
No, it's quite funny because the last time, I don't know what's going on here. I mean, Mike keeps dropping down. Ooh. Oh no, it was my spring. The last time, I think it was David Bennett's book. I bought it, and 2 days later, I got one somebody sent me one in the post. I don't know who, but and then I got another book come through back Coventry City. So unless I'm on some sort of directory, and because of the history podcast, they just send us books. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
Yes. For those who missed it earlier, yes, the Sky Blue History Podcast with me, Jim Brown. We had former Sky Blue player Ian Butterworth come on and talk about his career with us, and then he went to Forest and Norwich, and the fact that he's a scout now. And it's interesting to listen to how they go about scouting. And I think I quizzed him more about the scouting element of his actual career than his playing career, but it's some good stuff, yeah.
Excellent. Right, what else have we got to talk about today? The rumours about the playoffs expanding to 6 teams. What do you think about that one, Claudio?
It's getting ridiculous. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, it should only be the top 3," but then the season, I can remember how the season used to be over by, for us, the middle of February. You know, you're just playing games for the sake of playing games and no excitement. You know, so I think the top 6 is great. You know, you got something to strive for. Like the last game of the season for a lot of clubs, you've still got something to go for, and you could be halfway down the table and something to play for. But 8 teams, I mean, it's you could have somebody who finishes 8th get promoted who are nowhere near good enough. You know, so I don't think that's a great idea. It's all right non-league, I think, the National League, because they're all very similar, and League Two isn't what it used to be honest. So, but I think that's too many teams. What do you think, Jack? Too many?
Yeah, I mean, it'll, like you say, it'll increase excitement for fans. More teams will have something to play for towards the end of the season. More increased revenue for 6 teams as opposed to 4, and it will be an increased revenue for individuals anyway. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If the team in 8th get promoted, I mean, at the moment we've had 4 consecutive seasons where teams that have gone up have come straight back down, or at the moment we've got 17 teams in the Premier League who are absolutely settled and aren't going anywhere, basically. I know people are saying Sunderland might do it with their signings this year, or Leeds was so good last year that they've got a chance. But I don't see it as to be likely yet. But yeah, if we've got a team that's 8th in the Championship getting promoted to the Premier League, what chance have they got? I know they'll get, like you say, a load more money, 150, 180, 200 million from a playoff campaign. But how the hell are they going to compete in the Premier League? It's not going to happen. It will increase the divide between the Premier League and the Championship, in my opinion, because teams won't be battling to get to 3rd. They'll be battling to get to 8th. So it's not going to spur you on to break into a top 2. It's going to go, oh, well, we're content. We finished 7th last year. We'll be all right. Just don't do any worse. And we're in the playoffs. That's not something to strive for, surely, or for the level of ability and competition that it's creating. It's going to make things worse, and it's going to keep the Premier League exactly how the Premier League want to be, as a solid 17 and 3 up, 3 down on a nice little rotation. And again, because of the money, there aren't going to be teams that break into it. I know Ipswich did a couple of years ago, but it's going to be a struggle. It really is.
Can you imagine the budget for the clubs at the start of the season, and the owner says, right then, like Doug could say to Frank, we're going to build a squad just to get us into the top 8. It's hardly, it's not inspiring, is it? You just get an average squad. I mean, the 3rd of the division have got a chance to get promoted. Basically, it's a nonsense, isn't it? At the end of the season, you shouldn't. I mean, even down to 6 is, I think that's the limit, basically. Definitely.
I mean, in theory, it's not really fair that the team in 6th get promoted, is it? I mean, look at I've just glanced at last season's table. Leeds and Burnley, both automatic on 100 points. Sheffield United, 90 points, didn't get promoted. Sunderland lost their last 5 games, got to 76 points, did get promoted. Bristol City made the playoffs in 68 points and obviously got knocked out by Sheffield United. But that would leave, as of last year's table, Blackburn and Millwall in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like on 66 points each. And that would mean we'd have played Millwall in a one-off game at home before playing a 2-leg game against Sunderland. So we'd be knackered playing against Sunderland already. It's just chaos, isn't it? It really is.
I thought there'd be more of a chance of a Premier League 2 division, is what I thought. Where they met the Premier League to 16 and they have 16 teams in the next division. So they'd make it smaller all round. But yeah, I mean, there's an interesting comment there for Salop CCFC on the end there, Jack.
Yeah, Sky probably looking at viewing figures for all the playoffs and pushing for this. All the Championship attendances are up. TV viewing figures must be higher. Also, real buzz about this league. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, we almost play it when the Premier League's done and dusted. The Premier League doesn't get down to the last day. I mean, it has done a lot recently with Liverpool and Arsenal and Man City, but it tends to be done and done with 3 games to go, and that's when the playoffs are on. So all the Premier League fans I can't be asked to watch Fulham Brighton on a Friday night. Let's put on Coventry Sunderland in the playoff semi-final. Wow, what a game. Oh, it's full. Oh, it's loud. Brilliant. Exciting. It's 32,000 people there. There's way more watching on telly. We're making money. Sunderland are making money. Other teams in the playoffs are making money. And, the TV rights are making shed loads of money. So from their point of view, it's a win-win for everyone. But then you've got to think players get less holidays because they're playing more games. So Sunderland, or if let's take us, we were in 5th, we'd have had a one-off game against Millwall, then 2 against Sunderland, then a Wembley game. That's 4 games after playing a 46-game season. That's 50, plus at least 2 in the Cups. That's 52 games minimum. Players are going to get less of a holiday. They're going to come back knackered, more injuries, and we're just going to go around in this cycle like they're doing. And it's like with Chelsea playing a whole tournament after the league this year. I know they've started brightly and they look pretty good, but they're going to fall off because they'll be knackered.
I was about to say that. It'd be interesting to see what happens to Chelsea come February, whether or not they can still keep going.
They won't be in a title race by the end of the season. They might be by February, but they won't be by the end of the season because they will be knackered. Unless they buy another 7 players in January like they always do.
Yeah, well, they've got the best model at the minute. They're making a lot of money, Chelsea. They're buying players they're buying some of the best young players around Europe and they're flogging them and making 10, 15, 20 million a time on it. So their scouting boys are doing a great job. They're doing really, really well at the minute. I've got a couple of more things before we wrap up, and I've forgotten one of them. That's my age. The first one, at least I'm honest, the first one is, who am I? No, the first one is Player of the Month. We're going to do it last week. There's only 2 of us. Is it simply Victor Torp?
Yes.
Is that it covered? Anybody come close? I'll tell you what, Jack, you see the team of the month, I think. It had Torp and Rodoni, the 2 central midfielders. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Do you know what? I dislike them because as much as they possibly have been 2 of the best midfielders in the league, if you're playing a game of FIFA, that's all well and good. But having 2 attacking players like Torp and Rodoni in front of a back 3, no chance. It's not realistic at all. So I get that it's just the best 11 players and they shoehorn them into a formation where they can, but that's why I don't really care for it because And then in the official awards, Lampard's been nominated for Manager of the Month, but I feel that might go to Rob Edwards with his 4 out of 4. And Torp's been nominated for Player of the Month, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets it. Hadji's a shout from our end. Rodoni's been very good, although 2 fairly quiet games, Hull and Derby. He was still good, but quiet by his own standards.
I think with Victor Torp, with the goals he's scoring, as a fan now watching him, I just think every time he's going to hit the ball, it's going to go in. And I think that's such a great thing to have in our attack because defenders now aren't going to be sure what to do because they'll be thinking, hold on a minute, how far can he hit the ball from? It changes how you defend. It really does. They'll be thinking, do we need to press this guy? Do we need to go out to him? What's he going to do? It's fantastic at the minute. And I remember that debut at Sheffield Wednesday. We were there when we had 2 City fans who wanted to fight everybody. You remember that? There's 2 clowns in front of us who wanted to take them
because he was coming at me, and I think there was about 6 of us in a row ready to lamp him, and his mate dragged him back.
I think you're ready to control him. I think is what you're trying to say.
Yes, we were. We were ready to diffuse the situation in a
exactly. And then we all cheered leaving the ground because we noticed it's not often you actually cheer when the police arrest one on your own. But they were absolute pair of clowns anyway. And we saw that performance. We thought, whoa, this is a player. And I think the adrenaline got him through the first few games and he tailed off. I think the pace of it all got to him. But he's come back and he looks a top midfielder now. And hopefully with Frank Lampard, and I'll see this a lot in the comments, how can you not become a better midfielder with somebody like that teaching you? You've seen it in Rodoni. We've seen it in Torp now. Hopefully Josh Eccles is young enough to grasp the situation and become a player as well. I don't think it'll take much. I mean, it doesn't have to be a top in, the starting 11 of the championship. We just need him to be a 7 out of 10 every game when he plays. That's what you need out of someone like Josh Eccles when he plays. And I think you referred to this last season when he played that cameo role against Sunderland and he got injured, how he came on, he thought, whoa, he's really up for this. And and that's what we need. And he's not. I mean, if we sold him, we wouldn't get a great deal for him. But he's a player. I think that if we get 7 out of 10 out of him when he plays, it's a great backup to have because we need that now. Ben Sheaffer's gone. Jamie Allen, I would say his career's going the other way. If I'm honest.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about, I've totally forgotten now. So, Jack, have you got anything? Oh, here we go.
95 goals. Since Frank Lampard's first game in charge in November, no side in the Championship have seen more goals. I think that must be scored and conceded because there's no way we've scored 95 in less than a calendar year with a 2-month break in it. But it means we're exciting. We've only had 2 0-0 draws since Frank Lampard's taken over as well. So one of them obviously Hull the other week. Both at home, or that's the slight shock. Both at home, so it proves we're an exciting team. I also saw this on Twitter. The Hull City manager has told Humberside Sport the club received bids, plural, from the Sky Blues, and those bids were all rejected. Now we all know we're in, but the fact that it's broken from the Hull manager directly and Humberside Sport that bids were rejected just proves we were after this guy, and I wouldn't be so surprised if it carries on in January, especially if our defence is still as frail as it is now.
It's interesting because I'm sure they said that they advised him not to go and that they should wait for maybe the summer and look for Premier League football.
Well, look, the way that it would have been sold to him is if you go to Coventry, you're playing in the Championship. If you stay here, you're playing in the Championship. If you go to Coventry, you might play second fiddle to either Kitchen or Bobby Thomas, because they're the clear, solid partnership. Yes, you're probably going to be broken into there, but there's always room for rotation here. You're our club captain, or he's vice captain, I think, and so he's got some responsibility. He knows the football, he knows the location, doesn't have to move house. It was probably sold to him. If you go now, you might stagnate, but if you stay with us, you'll be a £20 million player next summer.
Yeah, I think we were offering 10 to 15, and they want 25 million plus add-ons. And they probably think we're not going to get that unless he goes to a Premier League club. And he might not get that from a Premier League club either. So either way, he's not our player. I'm not going to worry about him. So, Right. Any more comments? Please do. Hit those like buttons.
Wayne Ghost says, I hate Sky. Fair enough.
Overrated.
Lee Beckett says, playoff for relegation for the 19th to 22nd position. Winner stays up. Final played at Millennium Stadium.
Okay.
There you go. Imagine that. You get to a final at the Millennium Stadium and you lose and you get relegated. What a day out that is.
Something, it felt like that at when we went to Wembley. We lost to Luton. It kind of felt like you're relegated.
Yeah. Steve said, received my fan mug today. Immediately christened it with a cuppa. Well, cheers, Steve.
I've got mine here.
You haven't? Oh, well, that's a shame. What else we got? I just have to say, I have to completely agree. Victor Torp is an absolute best around at this level. He has so many abilities, very special. Also agree, Eccles could be brilliant if we keep him and he levels up. Yeah, hopefully he will. And I think Lampard does like him, especially, like I say, with that cameo at Sunderland. He's wanted, isn't he? He's wanted around this squad, especially with the loss of Sheaf. Why don't they go the other way and have a 6-team relegation playoff? It might make the Championship really interesting. Yeah, can you imagine that? So the bottom 2 are fighting for automatic relegation, the top 2 for promotion, and then the next 6 either side. So that would make a top 8, a bottom 8, and a middle 8 that aren't playing for anything.
You'd love the points gap. Table.
Yeah, because of the points gap, actually, if you're in that middle 8, you're probably fighting off one end or the other. So it would mean all 24 teams are competing.
The thing is though, with the bottom 6 having a playoff thing, say, that's kind of fairer because normally the teams are quite close down the bottom, aren't they, in recent seasons? So that would make more sense than at the top, I think.
Yeah, am I right in saying that I think Plymouth were all but relegated on the last day? They had to win by 13 or 15 goals or something outrageous that they were never, ever going to do because another game, because we'd lost to Luton. If we'd have drawn to Luton, they were in a race to stay up even without the goal difference. And then Cardiff were, I think, last day or maybe last but one day. It's very tight. Whereas the top two last year were the top two, weren't they? Or at least three of the top two that could have gone any way. Sky dictates kickoff times. So do we have a say about kickoff times? No, we don't. No, none at all. Sky tell us when it is, and we have to go, yeah, all right. Hull have no incentive to sell Hughes. They're on a transfer embargo, couldn't spend. Yeah, you're not wrong. 18th to 22nd was split by 2 points. Yeah. Sam says, lovely pizza, and then bit garlicky, though, this dip. There you go. Well, that's pretty much it with the comments tonight. Sorry I couldn't get through them all. There's only 2 of us. There's only so much we can read out.
Well, I think we've had a good show. We had a great guest on with Sam from Norwich. Obviously, we're pushing this because it's only 2 weeks now till we do this, the David Speedie night at the Walsgrave Club. There we are, the new book straight off the shelf today. And it's got big writing in it, which is what I'm quite impressed with, actually. In fact, I don't need my glasses to read this. So,
wow.
That's quite good. We're back on Saturday after, and now hopefully are you on at the post match on Saturday?
I don't see why not. I'm trying to think why I wouldn't be able to, but I should be.
Yeah, I'm going to struggle to get here for the start of it purely because I've got to take Luca back. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. But anyway, we're back here Saturday with the post-match reaction and also Sunday night. Where we're going to analyse it a bit more. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a lovely sky blue win in our home ground. Still takes some getting used to, doesn't it, to say that. Jack, thanks for being with us tonight, as always. That's great to have you on.
No
and remember, everybody, like and subscribe. Tell your friends, anybody, dead or alive, just tell them to like us and subscribe to us. Don't forget the Sky Blue History podcast as well. It's out on Spotify, but hopefully it will be out by the end of the week. The latest episode with Ian Butterworth. And I think it could be a full house on Sunday night, almost. You never know. Right. So, a big play up Sky Blues. And, well, here's to 3 points, Jack. Play up Sky Blues.
Fingers crossed. Play up Sky Blues.
Sky Blue Fans TV, for the fans, by the fans.